Hello everyone, welcome again to my channel. My name is Akin Gabriel, Chief Engineer on board a dive support vessel, and here we're going to be talking about everything maritime, being a seafarer and the industry as a whole. And today we're just going to go straight into the very essence of this channel, which, like I said earlier, is for seafarers in the maritime industry. So today we will be talking about how to start your career as a seafarer. Get into the industry as a seafarer is what we will be discussing today. But first things first, I would advise that you speak to your counselor or your course advisor before you jump into this career, knowing that there's a lot of positions as a seafarer. You have the deck, which is the navigational department. You have the engine department. You have subdivisions also of the engine department, like the electrical department. You have the catering department. You have the medical department as well. You have positions like radio officers, HLOs, helicopter landing officers, just to mention a few. So I'd advise that you speak to your counselor or course advisor before you make this decision. You might ask, why am I doing this? Why I'm doing this actually is because I am very passionate about this profession. This very noble profession has been in existence for quite a long time. It is pretty much one of the oldest professions ever known to man, even though it has evolved over time. No longer do the coal shoving process or having people to row the boats and so on. We have quite a lot of evolution has taken place over the period of years. So today we will be talking about the two major departments on the ship. All right, without these two departments, the boat cannot sail, pretty much. And what we'll be saying today is conventional, but it may vary in whatever country you might be. But I'll pretty much talk about the conventional system that is obtainable out there, and this is coming off of experience, my own personal experience, as well as that of other colleagues that I've met over the period of years in my career. And I also have had people ask me questions about this profession. Younger kids coming up saying, okay, how do I become a seafarer? How do I become a captain? How do I become this? How do I get into this profession? Even parents come to ask on behalf of their kids or people that they know concerning this profession. So I think there are a lot of people out there who don't know so much about this, and I think this is a good avenue for them to connect and get some information that they might need to get into this profession if they're interested in it. So the two major departments are the deck department and the engine department. The deck department is the navigational department, and then the engine department, pretty much, which I belong to, and I think I'm going to be a little biased. But the engine department is the heart of the vessel, the heart of the ship, and these are the two major departments that I will be talking about as a seafarer starting his or her career. Right. First things first, from your secondary school, your high school, it depends on whichever country you are. Some countries run the system of each student in high school going through both the sciences and the arts and so on, while other countries have a system where they run the high school or secondary school through in segments. You could actually be in arts departments, or you could be in a commercial department, or you could be in the science department. But all of this varies, like I said. But to get into this profession, you would need your sciences, okay? You will need your 5 credit in science subjects, like your maths, your physics, geography, which is very important, chemistry, biology, or whatever alternatives that is being offered. All right. And to go into the navigational department, you'll have to study what we call nautical science. And for the engine department, you study marine engineering. I'll take that again. To study, to become a deck officer or a navigational officer, you have to study what we call nautical science in the school. And for the engine department, you will study marine engineering. Like I said earlier, the marine engineering has subdivisions as well. You have the electrical department, right? So you could also choose to study the marine electrical. It depends on what you want, okay? But today we will be talking on deck, which is a nautical science, and marine engineering. So you have your 5 credits and the science subjects, and you apply into the schools. So I'm Nigerian. I have, some knowledge about the Nigerian institution as well as other places. So I'll be talking about the Nigerian schools. We have the Nigerian Maritime Academy in Oron, Akwa Ibom State. We have FCFMT, which is in Bar Beach, Lagos. We have quite other schools around. We also have like Regional Maritime University in Ghana, and if you're in the United States, you have schools like Mass Maritime, Maine Maritime Academy, and so on. So it depends on wherever you are or whatever it is that you want. There are quite a lot of schools all over the world, so to say, and their system of admission varies. So I'll ask that you check with the schools, whatever it is that their system of admission is. Most times, like in Nigeria, you have to do your JAMB to get into the schools, and after that you might also have to do entrance exams that is being set by the schools, or either you do both of them or you're asked to do just one of them. It depends on where you are. Whatever school it is that you're applying to will have their admission process. Now that is out of the picture, you run your 4 years course in the school, and then when you're done with that, you come up with your degree, and then you apply to do what we call the STCW 95 mandatory courses. Now, most of the schools will run it alongside your program while you're about to graduate. That's one system. Other systems, they break it in segments. If it's a 4-year course, after 2 years or after 3 years, you're asked to go on board the ship to go and do what we call your internship. So before going to do that, the schools will organize these mandatory courses, because without these mandatory courses, you cannot be on board. They are safety courses, which is why it's very important. You have to understand the safety side of being on board the ship before you are allowed to be on the ship. And what are these mandatory courses? It's called firefighting, basic firefighting. We have personal survival techniques. We have personal safety and social responsibility. And we have elementary first aid. These are the 4 basic mandatory courses that you need to do. Now, after doing these courses, you would then get your international passport. Very important. After you get your international passport, you will do your medicals as approved by the Maritime Administration of your country, right? And you will then apply to get your discharge booklet from your maritime administration in your country. A discharge booklet is where the captain of the ship puts the entries of each of your sea voyage into it. All right, it's almost like a seaman's passport, where all your entries when you came on board and when you left, everything will be documented in this discharge book, and it is issued by the maritime administration of whichever country it is that you are in. So if you have gone through this process, be it that you get to do this mandatory courses after the school program, your 4-year degree program, or you do it in between your 4-year program, there is no how you escape doing these courses. I mean, it's just basic safety courses. It's very important for your life, and it's also very important for the lives of the other people around you on board the ship. It's not just for you, but it's also for every other person on the ship, with you, because everyone is responsible for the safety of the other person, not just yourself. Okay, so we've cleared the documentation side of it and the school side of it. We also have other means of starting your career as a seafarer. We have schools that run 2-year programs. Yeah, you heard me. You have schools that run 2-year programs, and you can actually start your career, in this process. Be it as a nautical science student, which is still the same way that you get into it as you would do with the degree program, right? Again, you still have to check with the institutions to see what their admission process is like. So we have the 2-year programs for the deck department and for the engine department or electrical department. We have other departments that I didn't mention because these ones they're outside the ship. These are marine transport. We have naval architecture. These are outside of the ship, right? Yeah, they are not seafarers per se. So this 2-year program, you go into schools like Nigerian Maritime Academy also does that. Schools like Federal College of Fisheries and Marine Technology in Bar Beach, Lagos does that. The 2-year program, you go into it, and after you graduate with your national diploma, then you go do the safety courses that I mentioned earlier, which is the 4 mandatory courses, right? Firefighting, basic firefighting, I beg your pardon, elementary first aid, personal survival techniques, and personal safety and social responsibilities. After you've done this, you do your medicals as approved by the Maritime Administration. Then you get your discharge book, or this discharge booklet, which will be issued to you by the Maritime Administration. And in some cases, you might be required to get a yellow card vaccination or yellow fever vaccination. Okay, you might be required to get a yellow fever vaccination. So after doing this, you can now go on board as a cadet. This is an internship program meant for students fresh out of school. So your cadetship program is supposed to be 12 months on board a ship. Now, it may vary according to your maritime administration, but the conventional duration on board a ship for cadets, over whatever period, should be 12 months sea time. All right, after which, when you have it, you can then apply for your professional certificates. If you go through the degree program, the 4-year program, most of the schools, after you've completed your 4-year program, they issue you the professional license, which is either officer of the watch. All right. But that doesn't mean you won't do your cadetship at any point. You will have to do your cadetship somewhere in between. Okay, either you do it before your 4-year program is over, or you do it right after the 4-year program is over, but you must complete the cadetship program before you're issued the officer of the watch OOW certificate. If you do the 2-year program, after your 2 years in school, you go on board for your cadetship, and after that you go back to school to write an exam, and if you pass, then you'll be issued the OOW officer of the watch certificate. Maybe I should take that again. If you do the 4-year degree program, you will be issued the OOW certificate, the professional license, all right, to practice on board as an officer, either a deck officer or an engine officer. But before you do that, you would have to have completed your cadetship program on board any ship. Okay? And then once that is done, because you have gone through the 4-year program in school, you will be issued the certificate. But if you do the 2-year program, right? If you do the 2-year program, you would have to go on board the ship. You would have to do your cadetship program, and after that, you go back to school, apply for your OOW certificate, sit in class. Some of them are within 5 months to 9 months. It depends on the school you apply to. There are quite a lot of them also. You can check online. All right, and when you pass, you'll be issued the OOW certificate. So these are 2 ways. Now there's a 3rd way to get on board or to start your career as a seafarer. We have what we call the associate program. Now, this associate program, so let me put it this way. In the military, we have what we call the officers and we have what we call the ratings. Okay? So, as an officer, you go to school, you do your 4-year program or you do your 2-year program, you graduate, and then you get your OOW license, which makes you an officer, right? But in this one, this associate program, you go into it, and if you're going into the deck department, you go to school for like 6 months. Some schools are for a year. It depends on the school. You go into this program for 6 months or a year, and if you're in the deck department, you graduate and come out as an able seaman. If you are in the engine department, you graduate as an oiler, or in some cases, in some countries, they call it, QMED, the qualified member of the engine department. So it depends on where you are or whichever school you're applying into. Now, after the 6 months or 1-year program, you still have to do the same safety courses that I mentioned earlier, the STCW 95 mandatory courses. Okay, and after these courses, you would also have to get your discharge book, and in some cases, some maritime administrations will have you write an exam to get what we call the watchkeeping certificate. Yes, a watchkeeping certificate. You might be in some schools after this program, they won't issue you the watchkeeping certificate, while some do that. If they don't issue you this watchkeeping certificate, you must obtain the watchkeeping certificate through your maritime administration. They will conduct an exam for you, and once you pass it, you have your watchkeeping certificate with your STCW, with your international passport, and your discharge book with your valid medical certificate, you are qualified to go on board as a seafarer, either in the deck department or in the engine department. All right, let me know if you have any questions. You can drop it in the comment section, and I would be glad to answer you. Until next week, bon voyage.